Okay everybody, we're getting ready to make our initial voyage into the attic and go ahead and get our attic stocked with our material. And as you can see, we've got our insulation sitting here. What I wanted to talk to you guys about is what we want everybody to do is to only take enough material out of their truck, van, or vehicle to do the job that we're on. We want to make sure that everybody's accounting for the material. So I want to go ahead and go over how much material is on each one of these rolls. This is our Eco Shield, and there's 500 feet of square footage on this roll. This is our Energy Shield, and there's 4 rolls in here that have got 200 square feet apiece. So there's 800 total square foot in this bag, 500 total square foot in this bag, and another bag of Energy Shield, which has got another 800 square feet. So we've got 800, 800, and 500 for a grand total of 2,100 square feet. And now Jason's inside. He's got our attic access all prepped. So we're going to go ahead and get this attic stocked. Now, a good way to keep your job site clean is to open these bags with care and to not make a long slice in it. And we can use this bag as a trash bag. And if you do need a drop cloth, you can also go ahead and open this up into a square and use that as a plastic drop cloth. But we'll save that for a trash bag. And we're just going to go ahead and open up that bag. And we'll do the same thing with this one. Okay, what we're doing now is we're going to go ahead and stock our attic, and we want to make sure that we're well stocked with not only our material but all the tools that we're going to need, so we don't need to make any extra trips in and out of the attic. So Jason's already up here. He's got one extension cord up there. I just gave him another one. We're going to give him our 4-way plug-in in case we need to add any more light to the attic. And then this is your best friend. This is our telescoping installation pole. Here's our 2-foot rolls of Energy Shield. These have got 100 square feet on each 2-foot roll of Energy Shield. These are our 4-foot rolls of Energy Shield. These have 200 square feet per roll. Okay, so we're well stocked. I'm going to grab my mask and my light and we're going to head up and get started. Okay everybody, well, one of the first things I want to show you is we talk about establishing a path on our way into the attic to make sure we keep ourselves safe, we don't do any damage to the building. As you can see, Jason has located the ribbon that's attached to all the bottom cords of these trusses. And that's going to be our main path on this whole job. Jason did a good job of exposing our path to keep us good and safe. Now, if you can get a shot of out there at the perimeter, what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to send in some 2-foot pieces that are only maybe about 1 foot to 2 feet long to make sure that we get our material out over the top plate. Jason's getting himself in position. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to do that. Now I'm just going to cut one piece for Jason. We're going to check it for length before I go out and cut all of them. And see what Jason's going to do is he's going to use his extension pole to get the material out where his body can't go. And as you can see, he's pushing nice and lightly as not to compress any of that blown in insulation. Good job, Jason. He's going to go ahead and sweep some of that blown in back. And we're moving. Jason, is that a good length on that piece?
Yep, I would say so.
Okay. This is definitely one of the things, everybody, that differentiates Yellowblue from other reflective barrier or reflective insulation companies is we're going to always work really hard to make sure that we get our material out over the top plate. The reason I had Jason check that piece for length is this material is very expensive and we don't want to overlap any more than we need to. Now while Jason's installing those pieces, I'm going to show you guys another method that seems to work very well for us. Now this particular roll is 50 feet long. It would be very difficult for Jason and I to work this piece on opposite ends of a 50-foot piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it down into a more manageable size. And we like to work with pieces, you know, anywhere from 10 to 15 feet, somewhere in that range. And it doesn't have to be an exact length to start. You just want to make sure that when you finish, you're cutting your piece appropriately and not using any more overlap than you need to. Now what I'm showing you here is as I unroll this material, I want to make sure that I roll it back up tightly. This is very, very important. The reason that's important is as I go to install this piece, if I've got this piece turned into a big roll, it's going to be very difficult for me to get it into position. And typically, if you do that and roll it up 3 or 4 times, about halfway up your body, that's going to end up to be about 10 to 12 feet, approximately. We're just going to go ahead and use our scissors. And I'm going to cut a few of these before we go installing these. We don't want to chase ourselves back and forth across this attic. So we're just going to go ahead, cut a few pieces, and get them in the vicinity of where we're going to be working. Now as everybody can see, I am compressing this blown-in insulation in the area that I'm working. So it's also going to be highly important that when we're done, and as we're exiting this attic, any insulation that gets compacted or compressed, we want to make sure that we go back through with our telescoping pole, and we're going to rake it back up and fluff it back up nice and neat like we were never here. Well, these are just general length pieces, and what we'll do is we'll overlap these as we go, and then when we get to the end, we'll cut a piece that's exactly the length that we need to, so we're not overlapping any more than we need to. Jason, how you doing on 2-footers? Can I bring you some more?
No, I'm good for now.
Okay. And then what we found, everybody, is it's very smart and very effective to work in pairs of 2. So while Jason's over there in the corner, I want to make sure I get him all the material that he needs. I don't want him to have to come all the way back here to get any material. So Mr. Jason, if I were to bring down some 4-foot rolls, would we be able to start putting those in?
Yep.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is the same exact thing, but we're going to use these rolls here. There's no sense in me grabbing those and taking them down there. So I'm just going to bring a roll with me. And I'm also going to grab my pole. I'm going to go down here and help Jason. One thing we're very big on is to always leave a home in as good a condition or better than when you found it. So what we don't want to do is we don't want people leaving their trash and cardboard up here. And this is also a good way to account for how much material we've used. If we bring all our empty tubes out, we can count them up and make sure that we haven't left any rolls behind. So we're going to leave this right in our road, and we're going to take that out with us on the way out. Okay. Now before we go ahead and start moving down the road, Jason, should I bring some 2-foot pieces so we can go ahead and connect ourselves back to the field?
That's all good.
Okay. Now what Jason found here is there's going to be almost a 2-foot area here until we get to what we call the tangent point of our framing webs. And that was a very good observation by Jason that we needed to run a 2-foot piece parallel with our 4-foot piece. Not only that, it looks like that allowed us to make our 2-foot connectors about half the length, right, Jason?
Exactly, yep.
Very good.
2x3, 2x3.
Okay. We're going perpendicular with the framing at every opportunity, and we're overlapping absolutely everything. So the reality is there just is not that many seams on a completed installation by Yellowblue. A very good method, you guys, is to let one guy place and the other guy can cut material for him. It seems to work very good. And as you can see, we're trying to work one area without moving a whole lot. We always like to clean any loose blown insulation that may end up on top of the blanket off. We'd like to sweep it off. And the reason for that is that insulation can get saturated with heat and begin to conduct. So we want to keep as much of the thermal blown insulation below the blanket as possible. Okay, now we just finished fluffing the area, and it really almost looks closer to a new state of a blown-in job after we've refluffed it than it did even before we got in. So Jason, it looks like I need to provide another 2-foot piece to go parallel again. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to go get that for you. And I'm going to take any tubes and any trash with me. It's highly important to never waste a trip across the attic, guys. You should always be trying to take something with you or take something out. What I'm doing here is I'm rolling off slack for Jason because I don't ever want him to fight against the weight of the roll. So I'm rolling off plenty of loose material and he can pull it into place as needed. How's that, Jason?
Good.
Very good.
I'm going to roll this back so we can fluff up our area underneath.
Very good. Okay. And then it looks like we need to head back out towards the perimeter. And always remember, with every move, take your scissors with you and take your pole with you on every move. And as you can see, this technique and this method keeps our physical body from having to go into these smaller areas and still allows us to do this job highly, highly effectively. It's always good when the guy placing material stays in communication with you and lets you know if your pieces are a little long. And what that does is that helps us protect our business and our expense of doing the job. Another thing we can use our poles for, everybody, is to get material to each other. So rather than making Jason reach for his next piece, I'm going to fold it over my pole and get it close for him. What you always want to do is make sure the guy that's in the most difficult place to work does not have to move it very much.